Hello, and very good morning after the summer break to another PSG Perfect Sample Gas webinar. Good morning from from me to you here from Germany. I also want to include someone who is currently traveling. For all the people who've been following our LinkedIn channel, they saw that yesterday there was a show in Germany. But here we have someone who wants to say hello from another part of the world. And let me add James in here. I'm very sorry about the noise and the quality. But Jemson, hello. Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you and where are you?
Wow, we are at the oil and gas exhibition show in Kuala Lumpur together with our very, very valuable partner, AMP. And this is Robert, the owner of AMP.
Please come and support us if you happen to be around. So for this one, we are showing some products including the PSG, heater tube, probe, and also the coolers.
Super. Yeah, it's so great. It's so great to see. It is so great to see. Oh, so someone else is joining. Hello. Hi.
Yeah, Mr. Chan is the project manager.
Wow. Yeah, super. It's good to see you guys again. I remember it's not so long ago to see you. Hey, the whole team.
Wow.
Right now. Okay, now even more people coming. Super.
Yeah, Zaifu is still.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing our solution to the region. I know you guys do an incredible job. And I think this really helps not us, but also the customers to have the perfect sample gas solution, right? Okay, I wish you guys a very good show. And Jemson, we have to continue now with our content, which is the probe sampling, the quality gate, right? Okay. Jemson, any chance you can come to an area where it's a little, we can understand you better? Jemson, do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. This is very noisy over here. There's announcement going on in this hall.
All right. Yeah. You have any chance to go to a place where it's a little bit not so noisy?
This is the best place. Yo, this is the best place.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, Jemson, but maybe you can say some words. Regarding probe sampling, we will follow up very soon. Let me do a short introduction. I'm going to mute you just for the introduction, and then I get back to you. Okay?
Yeah, please.
Okay, super. Yeah, maybe you guys have seen in LinkedIn on our website that for the end of the year, and it's already September, so the end of the year is happening very fast. We've been coming up with a new series of webinars. Today we start with the first episode, which will be the episode of probe sampling, which we call the quality gate to our CEMS system. 19th of October, that is pretty much in 1 month of time from now on, we will have the topic of mastering probe transportation. This, by the way, is very interesting because we also published a white paper. Maybe my dear colleague Jonas will be so nice and post the link to download this white paper also. So there's a very good description. What are things you should take care about in heated sample line, mastering probe transportation in general. And then we were going to end our session here with probe conditioning, which we call the heart of sample handling of continuous emission monitoring system. Yeah, super. Okay, and maybe just very short to introduce our world team. And like he knows we are doing this, so Jose Luis, yeah, just said, hey, good morning and greetings from Dubai, from the UAE. Jose, good to have you on board here in our webinar. Jose is responsible for the Middle East area, and he'll be also joining us next week at the CEM conference in Barcelona. So yeah, we are very excited about these upcoming events and topics. Last but not least, there's Antonio Mena. Antonio is taking care of the Americas region, the South America region. And yeah, if any inquiries, any problems, any issues, just let us know. And yeah, we will make sure that you get and receive the required information. Okay, so gas analysis overview. I think it's maybe better that we start with an overview of the sampling system. And Jemson, maybe you can answer the question, why did we say the probe sampling, the gas sampling probe, is something like the quality gate in our CEMS system?
Yeah, definitely, all about sampling, right? First and foremost, we all talk about representation. How representative is the gas from the pickup point all the way to the gas analyzer? During this journey, all right, the sample probe itself is the only component in the extractive system that is exposed to the duct. Therefore, the first stage, we have to get it right.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I understand. Sorry, Jemson. I think I have to repeat that because the microphone and your noise is very poor. It's not a very good quality. Yeah. Okay. So what Jemson just said is a very important fact, which is that the probe, the gas sampling probe, sometimes it's also called the primary sampling point, is exposed to the process. So this probe is handling all the, let's say, high requirements, the special conditions, very high demanding conditions in the process. And we always say, if there's any problem you can solve in the probe sampling, let's say at the primary sampling point, do it. Yeah. Just make sure you remove all of these. For example, if you have to handle with dust, but all other components, even if there is a chance to remove it in the first stage. Anything to add, Jimson, from your end?
well, this is the point. This is the point that many people. I always want to use the word is that one should fit all sizes. We have to be very careful. Nobody wants to go up to the spec. No one, to expose just because there is a dark collection. All right, there is a viewpoint to be addressed. So therefore, it is so important that many of these people, customers saying, when we choose the sample probe, it is important to understand the filter element, the back purge, the installation guideline.
That's true. This is the points we are coming to now. And but the very important point Jemson just made was saying, okay, there is not just one sampling probe for all SEM systems. So we have to be very specific in thinking and choosing the right configuration of our gas sampling probe. Maybe very shortly, an overview about the product strategy here at PSG, which means we have the so-called basic products. Our basic products are, have a limited configuration, and in some features there is some limits compared to our plus product lines, where we have a bigger variety. And the final stage is the so-called process product line. In the process product line, yeah, we mainly talk about the topic of ATEX, so explosion-proofed environments for our gas sampling solutions. Okay, so Jemson, maybe some words about the filter and the filter element from your side. Why do you think this architecture and the filter element inside the probe is so important?
Yeah. So we talk about, for stack emission, especially in Asia, every specification asking for back perch, all right, blow back. But many of the people, they've forgotten that back perch is only a philosophy. And where lies the secret, right? It is the filter element. Therefore, it is so important that our customers understand the construction, the architect of our probe, and also the filter element, right? Without all these things, once the particle enters the ceramic filter, it is impossible to have a back perch.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But the filter element itself, even what you said, without the back perching, I think it's very important that we look at the filter and especially the filter surface. We have a simulation here which also shows what are different ways for the back perching. But first of all, we have to say that the filter surface itself takes a very important role. Then it also makes a big difference if you filter from the inside to the outside, or if, how in our case, you can use the entire filter surface and you filter from the outside to the inside. So this is really the advantage that with this strategy, because Jemson, this is also something you should mention. Handling back perching is an additional effort. So there has to be a sequence for the back perching. You have to bring the instrument air to the probe. And at the same time, you also have to consider if you choose the wrong strategy for the back perching, what can happen is that the temperature inside the probe might drop. So we might not be we might not have the holding temperature anymore if there's a lot of very cold compressed air perched into the probe. I think this is something we have to consider. James, maybe you can name some more facts which you think is important to consider in heated sampling or in our probes, which something people which who are considering what to choose, which probe to choose. What else is important from your side?
Yeah, there are few factors that normally we have encountered in the technical classification, right? First, we should bear in mind that we do not want the maintenance people who goes up to the spec just to change the filter. For that reason, right, the design of the filter element, the size of it has to be large so that it prolongs the interval period. Number two, it is important, all right, that the filter element itself is able to do a simultaneous back perch, which means that the filter element of ours has a multi-layer. All right, this is something that a lot of our buyer will be so convinced if we have a chance to explain to them, what do you mean by the multi-layer. Right. So lastly, we must make sure that the sample probe has to be heated above all the exit dew point of the gas metric. This is the most important.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Jimson. I think I have to recap that a little bit, what you just said, because the noise is really not getting better, unfortunately. Yeah. No, but what Jimson just said is really how he's ended his speech, was saying it is very important that the probe is temperated higher than the asset dew point. So in order to make sure that there is no condensation happening, which is very important in the layout here. Okay, yeah, I think we already showed the advantage of a big filter element, which means here is the connection to the process. So we suck in the gas sampling probe. The filtration is happening. Maybe it's also important to say that, Jemsen, in many, that is more or less a legal requirement nowadays. So the test and calibration gas has to go over the entire sampling system. I think back in the days, it was easier. You could just connect your calibration gas bottle to the analyzer, and then you just send you just did the calibration on this. And that also shows how important the probe sampling system really is, that it has to be nowadays included in the calibration of the entire system. That means the sample handling system, again, will have a very big impact. Anything from you to this, Jemsen?
Yeah, I am fully agree that it is important that, whether it's in US EPA or in the European EN 14181, it is so important that the calibration gas, all right, has to be entered into the very first uh, equipment, all right, which is starting from the sample probe, which means in this equipment I'm referring to the sample filter, meaning that the calibration gas has to go through, simulate the sample, all right, going through our filter element, all right, then it goes down to downstream all the way to the gas analyzer.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So yeah, another important part is also the part of the filter element itself, right? So if we say there is not just the one probe for all emission monitoring systems, but then it's also important to say that even if we are saying there's not just one probe, there's also not just one filter. Yeah. So there is different layouts of filter elements. We at PSG have a long range, different varieties of filters you can choose. But a very big difference here is our not just the dimension, but also the coating, the special coating of our filter. And in many studies, we could see that we've been able to achieve very long-term operations of the gas sampling probe without the need of changing the filter, because this will always interfere your measurement, right? Jemsen, I think this is also important to say. Next to, let's say, the trouble the maintenance team has to climb up and change the filter, but the measurement will also not be online in this moment, right? So this is also something you should consider in choosing the right solution there. Okay. So, Jemsen, you've been talking about back purging. Let's say there is a very high dust concentration. What do we need to consider from your side regarding also pressure reduction and these kind of things?
Yeah, I think that basically almost every customer, all right, when they do a back purge, customers would they prefer that the back purging air will not go downstream to the gas analyzer, all right. So on at the same time, we wanted to pressurize the back purge. Therefore, it is important to have a pressure reduction valve at the sample outlet, so that when we do a back purge, all right, we wanted it to be accumulated in the sample probe body itself, all right, to deliver the effective purge.
Okay, so this is more or less a protection for the connected heated sample line. We always have to consider the entire system. We saw that when we had a look at the PNID. The entire system heated up to 180 degrees C, for example, and we use the Teflon tubing for the probe transportation, which again means a high pressure can be stress for this system. So this is a good way to protect the sample handling system, which comes after the gas sampling probe, and obviously at the end also the analyzer. Interesting enough, James, and now we are turning from the probe and the probe filtration itself more to the field of accessories. But I think this is also important to say that these accessories might make the difference if you have trouble with your gas sampling probe or with the sample handling system, or even not, right? I think this is also important to mention. Jimson, what about the measuring gases and the temperatures here, filter element SO2 measurement? This is something you created, I think, this slide.
Yeah, this slide actually we address two things about the sample type, whether it is the length, whether it's the material. Let's first start off with the sample pipe material. All right, the pipe that we have actually is stainless steel PI, meaning that it is stainless steel with titanium powder. Really is to have one reason, is against corrosion. Number two, what is the length of the pipe? Everyone wants to be in the right in the middle. This is absolutely correct. All right, it is in the right in the middle. We can capture the fresh sample. All right, whereas near to the wall there are a lot of dead samples. So it is important to reach out as far as possible to the middle. All right. Lastly, I'd like to say again that the thickness of our sample pipe, the wall, it has been considered against the velocity of the flow. All right, in stack emission, we are talking about 20 meters per second. Right, we have to consider the resonance, the vibration. Therefore, the pipe itself is not just a pipe; it has taken into that consideration.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Yeah. That's a very good explanation. And maybe you guys also take note, Jonas. This is very kind of you to support us here with some comments about the right products, what to choose, and what to take care of. And Jonas was also so kind to post the white paper regarding the probe mastering the probe transportation. So if any need or any information you need, and you need to understand, not just for the heated sample probe, but also for the heated sample line, just refer to this information. Very good. Okay, yeah, gas sampling tubes. Maybe this is also something which is not so common and not so common known. Obviously, people do know, okay, we need to sample the gas from somewhere in the stack, and there's also a lot of calculation going on, okay, where to take the sample. But at the same time, Jimson, there's also some additional factors to be considered. For example, the pre-filter, which we see on the left-hand side, is something we usually don't need in our configuration because we have the big filter surface, right? Other probe solutions, sometimes because of a smaller filter surface, they require a pre-filter. Otherwise, the probe or the inside would get clogged very soon. But when we are facing heavy dust applications, which are there, not in the, let's say, in the emission gas, but in the process gas, then we also might recommend to choose a pre-filter. Then obviously, Jimson, this was also something you mentioned, as the gas sampling probe and the probe tube is exposed to the process. It also has to handle sometimes very high temperatures, right? So there's different probe material needed. And also important, especially when it comes to very low measurement ranges, is the so-called heated probe tube. And the heated probe tube at the end really makes sure that there is not condensation happening inside the probe, the gas sampling tube itself. And yeah, let's say with this list of accessories, James, and I see you want to add something important. So let me put you back on speaker.
Yeah, this is one very important point about the sample heater tube. Now, I always have a challenge of explaining to the customers whereby the fact it is saturated with water. Alright, so therefore many people thought that if as long as I find, let's say example, a PTFE sample pipe, alright, I can overcome the corrosion. This is not enough because if it is saturated with water, what happens is that the sample itself, saturated with water, enters directly into our sample probe, which is 180 degrees. It's going to have a steam, like a steam bath, right inside. So therefore, there's the only solution must have a sample heated pipe, so that the journey along the way is heated.
That is a very good point, James, and I thank you for stressing this out, because what Jameson just says here is if you have any condensation already happening in your gas sampling tube, you can have the best probe afterwards, or the best heated sample line, the best conditioning system, but the results will not be reliable and will not be accurate. And I think this is something very special. Let me just show you, Jemson. I'm always excited that Antonio is really already put his clock. And I mean, it's the middle of the night in Brazil, and I'm very happy to have you here in our webinar and to have you on board. Great to see you, Antonio. Okay, yeah, Jemson. I think we have another 2 minutes only to go. Also, this is a very important, let's say, table where you can see, which helps us, our gas sampling experts, to choose the right gas sampling tube. So that is relatively simple. Oh yeah, 3 a.m. This is what Antonio is writing there. So he's either still up or yeah, he woke up very early. But it's great to have you here. All right, so this is then yeah, the table where you can see the different temperatures. Jemson, I think there's one more big message we can spread out here to the audience. What do you think, if someone leaves this webinar, what is most important? What is a mistake someone should not do? Or what is something which is very important from your point?
Yeah, I think one of the points that we can say all the good things. Yeah, there is one point is the installation. All right, the installation. So please, ladies and gentlemen, it is so important that the installation has the right installation. All right, so to avoid a turbulence. Right, so we want to find a conducive place. Okay, at the right measuring the length into the process. All right, before the gas comes back, before it enters into our heated sample probe, we have to bring the sample gradually above the exit dew point. All right. One more thing for the audience. For if you have HCl and HF, please inform us. We have a chemical coating. All right, this is important. That makes a difference.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Jemson, thank you so much. I'm sorry that I have to put you on mute all the time. I can hear that you have a lot of fun on your booth, that there is a lot of communication going on. I wish you guys a super show. Oil and gas, Jemson, this is what you just said, and maybe this is also important. Yeah, I think it's nice that you show this to the audience. Maybe last thing from my side before I put you on the big screen. Even when it comes to ATEX, right? there is certain solutions for 150, for 90, 150, 180 degrees C ATEX solutions. Also something we have. So please, come to our sales team. And Jemsen, I thank you very much for this webinar. We have to solve your, we really have to solve your issue regarding the microphone, because there's so many important things you share. Have a good show in Kuala Lumpur, and all the best. Take care. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.